Welcome to the London Property Podcast, episode 13. We're in the middle of February and we're going to start off, Chris is going to start off with news of the week. So what do we have in store this week, Chris?
Well, Marius, this week there's talk about a potential mansion tax that the government is talking about. If you remember back to the general election and all the pledges that were made beforehand, Labour and the Conservatives both were going to spend ridiculous amounts of money and promising
the world,
heaven and earth and the world Anyway, now the budget is here and that's when they actually realise where they're going to get the money from. So Boris Johnson needs to get some money. And there's a lot of news articles out there saying it's going to be a tax-raising budget.
Yeah.
And there was talk, or speculation, rumours, whatever. Apparently the government are looking into the London and the southeast in order to finance some of that and level up the playing field for the north. There's been talk about a reoccurring property tax. So it'd be interesting to see how it's spun if it does indeed come out.
Yeah.
And there has been talk that stamp duty is no longer fit for purpose in terms of mobility, people moving around. Many people at the moment don't really want to move because it's prohibitively very high to move. So it'll be interesting to see if something comes in, and we're just going to have to wait. The budget is on the 11th of March, so let's wait to see what it's all about. Just giving you guys a bit of a heads up before then.
The mansion tax, you would have seen it in the news, but we expect a lot of people to kind of keep an eye on that, both buyers and sellers. If there are stamp duty changes, it will affect both the higher end of the market and the lower end of the market. So I reckon a lot of people are just going to wait and see until the 11th of March.
That's it.
But there you go. All right.
Question of the week. We've got a question of the week. Let me just bring it up here. So a potential client of ours said he's got a studio flat. It's currently rented out to a couple of tenants. They've got another 6 months left to run on the contract, and he said, is there a market for investors for the property if I put it on the market now? What would you with the tenant? What would you say with regards to that?
Ideally, you should sell property with vacant possession. It's just a lot easier for all parties, and it makes it a lot easier for the selling agents to actually sell. Having said that, the key to selling a property with a tenant in there, because we understand people want to have the income coming in, they don't want to lose that money, especially if you have mortgages and all these things to pay for. The key is to really communicate with the tenants, get the tenants on side to allow viewings at reasonable times, not Sundays or anything like that.
Tenants, they don't have to let you.
They don't have to, but it's how you pitch it to the tenants as the landlord. Make them understand that it's important, etc. And it actually works in principle. A lot of people have this fear and they don't really communicate with the tenants in the right way, and the tenants are very defensive when it comes to viewings, and it makes our job, or the selling agent's job, really difficult, because you cannot get viewings. And the matter of fact is, if you don't get viewings, you don't get offers, you're not going to sell your property.
Yeah.
So
property could end up staying on the market for a lot longer than what it needed to.
Yeah.
Say if you list a property and it's on the market for a week and you have 5 or 6 inquiries to view it, you can't get any of those people in because the tenant's being difficult. Then those leads then go cold, and they think, oh, you know what, forget it. The landlord's not serious about selling this property anyway.
Exactly.
You could have lost a buyer. You might be on the market for 6 months. So communication is key.
Yeah.
What I would say is the price that you will get by selling on vacant possession is probably going to be more money than if it is you were selling it to an investor who was buying a tenant in situ, because it's two different markets. There's an end user market looking for a home, or you're selling to the investment market who are basically looking for a good deal.
Number sensitive,
something that's going to work out, on figures base, and more often than not always, but more often than not, it's going to be less money. So don't try and sell it with the tenant in situ.
If you can, but if not, you can, and you need to keep the tenants in to get the income, but make sure you communicate. But
there's no problems with 6 months left to run on the contract. There isn't a problem, because the average property at the moment in London is staying on the market for kind of 2 or 3 months before it finds a buyer, and then the conveyancing process takes another 2 to 3 months. So there's your 6 months. You know?
Exactly.
So
it's not an issue really. The timing works quite well.
Timing
if it
would
is
work
6 months.
fine.
If it's 12 and you've just signed a new contract, then
that's too
it's
far.
a little bit tricky because then you have
away.
to
Unless there's a break clause at the 6 month period.
Exactly. There you go. So try and do it on vacant possession. Otherwise, communicate with the tenants and allow access. Right. And the final bit we've got
hot listings of the week. Or for this episode, we're going to actually call it Hot Portfolio of the Week.
New section.
Do you want to talk about this?
So we have a probate portfolio for sale. The client is disposing of 4 or 5 properties in the estate. Now, 2 of them are in Kensington. One is in St. John's Wood, and the other 4th one is in Earl's Court.
The Latham Court that's not part of the probate. The family own it, but it's not part of the probate portfolio.
But basically we've got these flats which are all 3 of them are 1 beds, pretty much similar size. They have short leases and they all need refurbishment, a bit of refurbishment.
That's what they've all got in common.
All
got in common, prime locations. But rents, in my opinion, undervalued. Properties need work, and leases are short. So the one in St. John's Wood is about 420 square foot, 1 bed on a high floor in a block next to Abbey Road Studios. So very popular, famous location in St. John's Wood. It's got a 55-year lease. You've got 2 in Kensington that are about, one's I think 490 square feet, the other one's 500 square feet. They're on high floors in a porter block with a lift. Those 2 flats in that building, one's on the 3rd floor, one's on the 4th floor, need refurbishment again. They've got 36 years on the lease. Both flats have got 36 years. So what's the benefit of buying something in an amazing neighborhood that needs refurbishment with a short lease with undervalued rents?
There is obviously incredible upside to add value. So to give you an example, the 2 in Kensington, which are pretty much identical, we've got them on the market £400,000, right?
For 400 a piece.
On a short lease, right? 400 a piece, both pretty much the same. There is an identical flat in the same block, which isn't like that much more modern. It's like 2000s modern, so still needs refurbishment, but it's on a long lease and it's on the market at £695,000. So the way I have been speaking to our clients, our good buyers, developers and investors, is look at the upside, because if you were to extend the lease for these apartments, it would cost you anything between...
Well, I'd let people do their figures on the lease extension.
But an estimate that we've done is 150,000 K, and that's a desktop valuation. So that's something that you're going to get
without prejudice desktop valuation.
But you do the refurb, you do the lease extension, and you still have good equity into the property to get to the value of, even if it's we kind of said it would be worth around 650, 675. I think 695 is a little bit optimistic for the one that's currently on the market, but that just gives you an example of how much capital and how much value you can add and extract from these kind of apartments. And pretty much all the other 2 as well, they're identical scenario, short leases need refurb. If you do those things, they're going to be worth a lot more. So,
little caveat: you need to be a cash buyer to buy these.
Yeah, the short leases one, you're not going to get a mortgage for the 38-year, 36. Keep thinking 38 for some reason, but anyway, you're not going to get a mortgage. So it is for cash buyers only.
The one in St. John's Wood is I talked about it anyway, didn't I? The lease extension value on that is not going to be as much as the ones in Kensington because it's a longer lease. It's a 55-year lease. So it's going to come well under £100,000, the lease extension cost. It's probably going to be somewhere more in the region of, our desktop extension off the top of my head was somewhere between 50 and 60 something thousand pounds. So really good flats.
Well, great portfolio to
in the descriptions. We're
going to put the links. By the time 2 of them, we're still getting the floor plans and the photographs arranged, so they're not actually on the market. By the time this goes out, we'll have the links, but great portfolio for investors and a lot of upside that people can benefit from.
Because if you like one of these flats, then you're gonna they're very similar kind of things. You are gonna like the rest. So that's why we're classing it as a portfolio investment, because they're not completely different things. They're all cookie cutter.
Pick them all in one scoop. I had a conversation with a developer. It's like, yeah, we'll be looking to package it all nice together, make an offer for the whole thing, buy it, do it up, extend the lease. This is the kind of thing good investors and developers like. So if you are on the market, we've got the right thing for you in amazing areas in London. But that concludes our vlog, episode 13. It is a more condensed version. We've tried to be a lot more sharper. Partially because the first take we did, it appeared in record. So this is basically take 2 of episode 13, and we've had to basically make it a lot shorter. But anyway, links in the descriptions. Send us your questions. Get in touch with us. Check us out on podcast. If you cannot watch the video, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can do your hoovering, wash the dishes like Chris does every night, and he listens to the London Property Podcast. You can do the same, but definitely get in touch. Send us your questions, because we're always wanting to add value to our audience, and the properties and the links will be in the description. And I'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
See you next week. Bye.